All right, welcome to Operation American Dream. I'm Daniel Amon, this is Eve Nasby. How are you, my friend?
I am awesome. How are you doing?
You ready to meet some cool people or what?
The most coolest people. That's not even good English, is it?
So Operation American Dream, veterans, military, friends, family, supporters. If you're in San Diego and you care about the military, you should pay attention.
You should.
Got Jim Sagona, Steve Snyder, and Jeffrey Hall, and you'll find out who those people are if you stick around.
Be prepared to be educated and inspired. You're going to love it.
We'll be back. Operation American Dream coming at you right now. So I'm pretty excited about this next guest.
Oh my goodness, he's incredible.
I had the pleasure of meeting Steve through the radio show, through Military Mondays, and we talked in depth about his dad and about his dad's story, Howard Warner. Why are we even talking about it? Steve's right here. Steve, thanks for coming in, man.
Good to see you.
Your dad, Howard Snyder, was a pilot in the 8th Air Force, right?
Correct.
And was shot down during World War II, and you wrote a book about it. So we're here to kind of hear your dad's story and talk about yourself. And so thanks for coming in.
Great. Good to be here. Good to be here. Yeah, my dad was shot down in 1944, February of 44, by 2 German fighter planes. So the book goes into detail about what happened to each member of the crew after the plane went down. My dad was a pilot. And about all the Belgian people that risked their lives trying to help them after the plane went down. 5 of the crew made it back, 5 of them did not. So the book was released in 2014, so it's just been about 2 years since it's been out. It's won 20 book awards in that time. So
and you're not an author.
No, I have no writing background
You're the
whatsoever.
most successful non-author in existence.
20 book awards.
Tell me about your dad. Where did he grow up, and why did he end up in the Air Force? And
yeah, he was born in Norfolk, Nebraska, hometown of Johnny Carson. Moved out to California, to Glendale, when he was 13 years old.
Glendale, California?
Yeah. And as a result of the first peacetime draft in history by President Roosevelt in the fall of 1940, he enlisted in 1941 in Los Angeles. His first year was actually in the Army. He was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington. But he married Ruth Hempel, my mother, and they had a little baby girl, and he thought, I'm not going to be able to support him, and I'm a private's paying in the Army, so he joined the Air Force.
You do that back then, I guess.
Yeah, so he'd make more money
let you go.
Right? Especially if he become an officer and become a pilot. So he went to England in 1943, October in 1943. He was missing in action, actually, for 7 months after his plane was shot down.
Well, tell me what happened. So he was on a mission in...
Yeah, they had bombed Frankfurt, and their bomb bay doors got hit by flak, and they couldn't get the doors back up, so that caused a drag in the plane. They fell behind the formation, and they were singled out by these 2 German fighters. In the ensuing air battle, the Susan Ruth, the name of his plane, after my oldest sister, was shot down. After he bailed out, he was missing in action for 7 months, but he evaded capture.
So when you say bailed out, he basically jumped out with a parachute on.
Yeah, the cockpit was in flames.
We're not talking about like you're like, oh, here we go, throwing a parachute on and jumping into unknown skies.
Yeah. I can't believe it, what it was like for those guys who came down. You know, they had the shock of being shot down, their plane knocked out of the sky. They've come down in a foreign country. They don't know where they are. They can't speak the language. The people they're depending on to try to hide them can't speak the language. Any of them could be a collaborator and turn them in.
So your dad, Howard, ended up in the right hands, though? Like he ended up...
Yeah, he parachuted out. His parachute got hung up in these trees. He was dangling 20 feet off the ground. And fortunately for him, a couple young Belgian farmers saw him and before the Germans got to him, and they helped him down out of the tree. And then he was hidden by various Belgian people for several months. Then he got tired of hiding. So he joined the French resistance and started sabotaging German convoys.
That's way too little show.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
You got to read the book. I mean, I guess is what has to happen.
And
but that's
incredible.
I mean, so he was evading capture for how long? For 7 months?
7 months. Then finally, on September 2nd, anniversary to 42nd anniversary tomorrow of 1944, he was liberated when Patton's Third Army came up through France after D-Day, and then he made it back to England and back to the States.
So tell me about the process of writing the book. I mean, what made you want to write the what clicked where you're like, I'm going to write a book about and tell my dad's story?
Well, I retired after a 36-year career in sales, provision service plan. And at that time, I had no intention of writing a book. I just wanted to go through all the material that my parents had kept from the war years and go into greater detail. And I started reading book after book about the air war in Europe. I joined all these World War II organizations, started going to reunions, listening to vets tell their story. I went on the internet, did just countless hours of research. And then finally in 2012, I came to the conclusion that the story of my dad and his crew were so unique and so compelling that people needed to know about it and read about it. So I decided to write a book.
Well, you also traveled to those places where your dad was hidden.
Yes, I've been to Belgium 4 times. A lot of the places where he was hidden are still there. Homes where some of the Belgian people hid him, and also a farmhouse where he stayed with the French resistance.
And he was also with you, and you also were able to extrapolate some of these stories as he went back there and kind of relived those memories. That's where I think he started telling more, because World War II veterans just don't talk about what they went through.
Right. They built a memorial in 1989 to my dad and his crew. And when he went back for that, he was reunited with a lot of the Belgian people who had hit him and saw those places where he's hidden. And it brought all the memories back. And that's when he really started talking about it.
How much of the story did you know previously? How much did your dad share with you? And how much did you ultimately unearth through kind of doing the research for the book?
Well, I knew all the basics, but really I learned so much more during the research. There was a war crimes report that involved 3 members of the crew who were killed later after they bailed out, that went into detail, and they interviewed Belgian people, German officers. That gave me a lot of information. And then there was 2 Belgian gentlemen. They were young boys that during the war who became historians afterwards, and they interviewed all these Belgian people and members of the Belgium underground and documented their testimony about events that took place involving my dad and his crew. So it's unbelievable detail that a lot of which my dad didn't even know about.
And you found the Luftwaffe pilot that shot your dad down.
Yes, amazingly.
And he's 92 years old. He's still here.
Hans Berger, yeah, they actually shot each other down. His Focke-Wulf fighter shot my dad's B-17 down, but then the gunners on my dad's plane shot his plane down too. He bailed out and made it through the war. He's 92 years old. I just went over, step back. He became a translator after the war, fortunately for me, so I interviewed him through the email and over the telephone for the book. But just this last May, I went to Munich and filmed an interview with him. And so we met face to face for the first time, and that was just, I get chills just talking about it.
You talk about like the importance of learning the lessons of the past. So you're not, so aside from being a cool read and an interesting read, I mean, what do you think is important about kind of learning those, looking back at the history in the past and stuff? I mean, that's got to be, it's got to be interesting for all types, whether you're into military or not,
Well, my motto is kind of, it's our duty to remember.
Sure.
And really the tribute, the book is a tribute not only to my dad, but his crew and all members of the 8th Air Force, and really all the veterans of World War II. There were 16 million World War II veterans, and 95% of them are gone. One passes away every 3 minutes. And pretty soon those guys are not going to be with us any longer. So we need to remember what their sacrifices they made to preserve freedom. Really that's my goal, is just to get the word out, make people think about what took place 70 some years ago. And to honor these guys.
So are there any other books coming up, or any other, I heard maybe a documentary of some sort?
In May, besides going to Munich to film the interview with Hans Berger, I went to Belgium and spent several days there filming all the locations that are talked about in the book. So I plan to make a documentary this coming year.
And what's the best place? So if you want to pick up, shot down the true story of pilot Howard Snyder and the crew of the B-17, Susan Ruth. What's the best place to pick it? Is it Amazon, or do you have a website that people should go to?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble stores. If you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website, which is stevesnyderauthor.com. And that's also sold in the gift shops of all the major air and war museums in the United States, like the World War II Museum in New Orleans, even the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on in the limited amount of time that we have here.
Great
just pretty
stories.
amazing stuff.
Wow. I can't wait to read the book.
I appreciate that. It's an amazing read.
So, author stevesnyder.com, is that right?
Yeah.
Pick up the book.
Steve Snyder author.
Steve Snyder. See, I almost messed you up. stevesnyderauthor.com. Go on stevesnyderauthor.com. Pick up a copy of Shot. Pick up your autographed copy of Shot Down, and we'll be right back with more Operation American Dream.
Hi, my name is Min Lee. I live up in Carmel Valley, northern San Diego with my 2 kids and wife, and we had our solar installed by Baker Electric Solar. We went with solar because we wanted to be environmentally sound, but ultimately it came down to being financially sensible, and the prepaid lease was really the best option. There was only one payment up front, lock in all of our utility rates. We'll get our return back in about 6 or 7 years, kind of like a bond or a CD. We had no headaches, no stress to worry about. If you're thinking about going solar, now's a great time. Our electric bill is 0, and you can't beat that.
Welcome back to Operation American Dream. I'm your co-host, Eve Nasby, here in studio with an incredible organization I know you're going to want to hear more about, Jeff Hall, with Honor Flight. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm so excited to have you because on a personal level, I took my daughter down to the airport one day and I was experiencing this. And the electricity that is in that room as these veterans are coming home is, you can't describe it. There's not a dry eye in the house. Kids are everywhere. Families are waving flags. It's incredible. So tell our viewers all about what you do and what Honor Flight does here in San Diego.
So Honor Flight is, San Diego is part of a network hub of about 130 hubs nationwide that do the same thing, honoring vets by bringing them back to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials.
And these are World War II veterans, and you're taking them over to D.C.
Yes.
to see the memorials. And have they seen them before? Is this the first flight for them?
Some have seen them before, or a lot of them have donated to the memorial when it was first being built. But a good majority, if over 90%, have never seen the memorial.
Wow. And so you fly them over there, and they go to the different memorials, and
Yes.
what happens when they're there?
So we fly them out on a Friday, because it takes all day to fly to the East Coast from the West Coast. So we fly on a Friday, but Saturday we tour all day. So the first stop we see is the World War II Memorial. We spend an hour and a half there. They walk around, they check all the different spindles and the quotes all over the memorial, seeing that. And the biggest thing that happens a lot is all the complete strangers that walk up to them and just want to shake their hand and say thank you for your service.
Wow.
We've had a time where there was a school that do a lot of field trips out there, and there was a bunch of kids, and it was like a rock concert. These guys swarmed these veterans.
Good.
And wanted to just take pictures with them and shake their hand. And so all these veterans looking at me saying, what are they doing there? I was like, they just want to say thank you. That's all they want to do.
And that, I think, is the whole foundation, right, is to give these guys the honor that has always been due them. And so you started in 2010. Talk a little bit about the history of Honor Flight.
So Honor Flight originally started in 2005 in Ohio with a gentleman named Earl Morris, who was a retired Air Force officer. And he is a physician's assistant at the VA in Springfield, Ohio. And he was reading about how the memorial was being opened in Washington, D.C. So he was going to his World War II patients like, hey, sir, your memorial's open, you can go see it. And he's like, well, they go, I don't have the way to get out there, or I'm too old, or I just have no way. So that was like, that's not right. So he was a private pilot. So he got a bunch of other private pilots, and they got a row of over a dozen planes, and they flew them to Washington, D.C. to see the memorial. So that was the beginning. That first flight happened in May of 2005. So since then, hubs have started popping up, news became aware of the news, and now over 130 hubs nationwide. We have hubs in Alaska, Florida, and then we started the Honor Flight in San Diego in 2010. The founder, Dave Smith, went on an Honor Flight with his father, and they have what's called a lone eagle, where you don't have a major city that has a hub. They fly them all together to D.C., which he did with his dad, who was a World War II veteran. And when he got back, he told the current chairman, said, hey, I want to help with the San Diego hub. And he said, well, there isn't one. And so
And you started, and since then you've had 900?
Over 900 veterans,
Veterans
yes.
that you've taken over. Tell us a story about a veteran.
We
over there.
have, the stories are plentiful. I mean, all these guys that have flown just talk all the time, but there's one story of a gentleman who didn't fly with us, but it was a great story. He had night terrors. And so when he got married after the war, his wife couldn't sleep in the same bed. So they had separate beds for a while in the same bedroom. And it got to the point where he was screaming in the middle of the night where she had to get a separate bedroom. Well, he finally went on an honor flight. And she wrote a letter to the chairman after he got back, said, "Thank you for giving my husband back, because now he's actually able to sleep in the same bedroom."
Wow. Now tell us why. Like night terrors and then honor flight. What's the connection?
What's the connection? Yeah. So what it is a lot of these guys have survivor's guilt, and so they get back from their time, and there wasn't any kind of support system really back then at the end of World War II like we have today.
That's right.
So they get back and they just went to their regular jobs, and their buddies who the camaraderie in the military, it's very tight. So to lose some of these buddies in battle, but yet they come home. So a lot of them had closure when going on the trip like this. They were able to talk to their other survivors who've made the trip and be able to say, "Hey, it's okay. You've lived your life,"
right.
And that burden. There's stories of where they've actually seen people standing in front of those stars at the War Memorial, and almost like you can feel the burden lifted off their shoulders for coming back to seeing that.
That's powerful. And we here in San Diego have the opportunity to join you on those flights as volunteers. So talk about that.
So there's many roles. There's a guardian role and there's a volunteer role. A volunteer role is basically helping us raise funds, do PR, making phone calls, doing engagements like this, going to talks. Database entry, website administration. That's
all
what
the fun stuff.
all the fun
details,
stuff,
right?
all minion work. A guardian is an individual who assists the veteran throughout the weekend of the trip. So they meet the veteran, fly with the veteran, and then throughout the entire weekend just hang with the veteran. Help. They need to be pushed in a wheelchair, take photographs, and basically just assist the veteran through their entire weekend. Sometimes it's a family member, that's the veteran, but sometimes they don't have any family that can make it, or just no family that are in the area. So these volunteer guardians, which I have a long list that keep applying, which I love having, they just hang out with these guys. And usually what happens is that once they go, they're addicted.
Yes.
And they want to keep going.
Life-changing, I imagine.
Everybody wants to keep going again, which is hard for me because I only have so many seats on my plane. So it's great to be popular for that kind of stuff, but overall, it's one of these things where, like you said, when you go to the return, it's a life-changing event.
And it's not free. So
No.
let's talk about the cost and how we can actually help you raise money.
So the overall cost to flying a veteran is over $2,000 per veteran.
Okay.
And so the guardian fee is $500 that we charge, because needless to say, a lot of people don't have $2,000 all the time. So we as a organization help offset that costs. So only we'll charge the guardian $500. However, we charter a plane, we have hotel rooms, we have buses, we have food, we have all the little nuances. Now, we only have about under 2% overhead.
Okay.
So all the money
great.
that I'm volunteer, I have a regular day job, but I don't get paid. So all that money turns around to go to get the veterans back. So it takes over almost $200,000 to do a trip. So
now, does that cost the veteran themselves, or
No.
is that free? This is completely free to them.
Free for the veteran. No, they don't pay a dime. That was the whole purpose of the organization, so that we honor them. They don't feel that they have to pay a dime. A lot of times they feel it's a scam. When we call them up, they applied with us, but they still think it's a scam. But once they do it, they realize that this is real.
Excellent. Jim Hall, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Jeff, Honor Flight San Diego chairman, and we are going to support you. I think Daniel Lehman, our co-host, also wants to become a guardian, so we're going to rope him into that as well.
All right.
You're watching Operation American Dream. We'll be right back with Jim Sagona and Daniel Lehman. Don't go away.
My name's Kevin Grangetto. I live in Escondido, California, and I had my system put in by Baker Electric Solar. When they got here, they were ready to go. Started early, 6 in the morning. They parked off site, so they were able to get everything in on the roof, hooked up, and done in a matter of 3 days. And it was really easy for my wife and I to work with them. You just don't want a lot of these challenges to be, affecting the way that you do your life. And when they got in and out of here, it was excellent. It was easy. It's just the way they told me it would be.
All right, welcome back to Operation American Dream. We've got the real estate recon segment, and as you know, we do all sorts of education. We tell veteran stories. We try to serve the veteran community in the best way that we can. And part of that is also talking about finance, talking about real estate as a core piece of a financial puzzle because veterans have such big benefits. So we've got with us Jim Sagona. He's a realtor with Pacific Sotheby's. Also, a former Army guy, but we won't hold that against you, buddy.
That's okay. I'm a minority around here.
Yeah, yeah. So you were in the, well, okay, so you were in the Army from what, 73 to 77?
Yep, I was enlisted 73 to 77.
Where did you enlist out of?
Actually, LA.
Out of LA? You're kidding me.
Yep.
That's where I enlisted out of.
Yep.
And why the Army?
My dad was in the Army.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking bad about it. No, we love everybody. You know that.
Different
Military
service
guys
type.
know how that goes. You know,
We
you
do.
got to rib each other a little bit. So, but you were 73 to 77 in the Army. What was your occupational specialty year?
Primary was infantry, secondary was mortars, and I did mortars the whole time.
Wow. Yeah, my cousin's in the Marines doing mortars now. So, and then, so you got out as a active duty enlisted guy.
I did.
And then it sucked you right back in.
Well, 8 years later, I was the oldest second lieutenant you ever saw.
You were salty second lieutenant.
I was. Army National Guard. I went through the state OCS program in the state of Washington. Little known fact, every state has an OCS program.
So what was the thought? Was it just, I mean, I feel like, you know, you get out and you kind of, was it like, did you kind of just miss it, or was it more of like a financial, what was your thought in going back? And
I missed it.
yeah, I know the feeling.
Yes. I wanted to be back on the team, and I came back in, and it was the offer was made, retain your old rank, and then pretty much as soon as I signed up, they said I should go to OCS.
It's interesting, right? I mean, once you get away from it, it's like getting towards when you're getting out, you're kind of like, I'm ready, and then you get out and you're kind of like, man, I just miss being able to like beat each other up and then go have a beer and just be okay. You know, there's certain things about the military that are just a beautiful thing.
Yes, the camaraderie. I was in the infantry, so it was like a fraternity.
Yeah.
There was a lot of elements there, which I never knew because I went to college later.
You know what I love about the military also, like with all this stuff going on, I don't want to get too off track, but what I love about the military is you could take with all the other nonsense and all the division in the country and stuff, you go to any boot camp anywhere and you see people of all backgrounds, all races, all everything, they're all suffering together, they're all picking each other up by their backs, and it's just a beautiful thing, you know?
It's a great experience.
So, I mean, speaking of staying involved, right? Now even being out of the guard and into kind of what you do now in real estate, you're still I see you everywhere. I see you at the University Club with Milnet and all over the place. You're still very active. I mean, that kind of is another means to keep you close.
Definitely. There's a passion about working with our veterans. For me in particular, I'm a non-combat veteran, and I have a need to support those that have served and those that have served in combat, active duty or veterans.
Well, certainly, like in the veterans division of the company that I work with on the lending side, it's not about doing loans, and I know for you it's not about selling houses. It's very much about the concept of if you served your country, you should own a piece of it.
That is absolutely correct. My mission is to help our clients buy correctly. There's a lot of misinformation in the real estate business. There's a lot of TV shows that are reality-based, and my humble opinion, there's not much reality to them. So my mission there is to help people, like any other op order, is to make sure that they are doing things at the right sequence with the clear objective of ownership.
Well, the other thing too, man, is just it doesn't end once you get out, right? When you're in, you've got the E1 finance car lots, people looking to take advantage of people. When you get out and you've got access to such a powerful tool like the VA loan, you still have people going after you and that would aim to kind of better their own financial situation instead of advising objectively.
You're absolutely right. Education. Yes, it's a big part of what we do is take away the myths and focus on what we need to know.
You know, it's what we were talking about before that I wanted to kind of touch on was that there were some misconceptions related to the VA loan and the ability for someone to buy, which VA at its core is for a primary residence, meaning you have to buy it to live in it. But you don't have to always live in it. There is the ability to rent it after you've purchased and intended to own or occupy the property, to live in the property. In the future, they're not going to hold you to that. You can rent it out and actually turn that into a good asset for yourself.
Absolutely, and I point this out particularly to first-time buyers, people that are new into the market, that have more time than money. The budget, even though the budget limit in San Diego County is what, 7, what is it?
Which one, the VA loan
VA
limit?
loan
580, 750.
Okay, 580, 750. There's plenty of opportunities for $350,000 throughout the county. And you can use that and you say, intend to live in the home because that's what they're going to do. Veterans also, they tell the truth. They're honorable people. And I say, buy that home, fix it up, make it a rental, and it might take a year or 2 or 3. Don't sell it.
Well, you
Rent
know,
it.
the VA would have a hard time making it required for you to stay there a year with deployments and with everything else. You have to intend to own or occupy the property, and that's what the core is. The other thing to understand is that most people think once you've used your VA, that's it. And the VA is kind of like a rechargeable battery, right?
It is.
Like when you use it, you've used it. When you pay that off, you've restored it. But you can also use half. So if you
Correct.
buy a $300,000 place in San Diego, you may have, or if right now you're thinking, hey, I got a place that I bought in Virginia when I was stationed over there, but if that's only $150,000, you may not be looped out of an ability to use the remaining element of your VA eligibility, right?
Absolutely correct. And that's, again, that's a little known fact, I think, in the world that we live in here. There's many veterans in San Diego that don't know that and need to know that, because I'm in the business of helping people's lives. Homes are usually part of it, and then helping them build wealth.
So, you know, one of the opportunities also, just continuing the kind of topic of investment, of long-term wealth, right? One of the biggest things that I feel like I messed up on, and one of the biggest opportunities that I wanted to kind of hit on, was the ability to use your VA eligibility to buy a multi-unit.
Yes.
So as long as you occupy the one unit, you can rent out the other 3. And I've got clients that are keeping their BAH in their pocket because they're able to benefit from the rent on the other units.
Yes, it's outstanding opportunity there. 4-plex or under, a duplex,
Triplex.
all of those are available.
Well, so listen, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to do it? If there's a, you know, I would always say that if you're a veteran, you should try and use someone who is, not try and use someone, definitely use someone who is, both knows the guidelines, but also knows the veteran.
Yes.
Right, it's very, very important. So how do people reach out to you? Is a cell phone the best way to go?
It is. Cell number is 619-665-6938.
And you're with Pacific Sotheby's, which is just an amazing name in San Diego.
Thank you, and hard-earned.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks so much for coming in, man. I really appreciate it. We're going to get right back and wrap it up. Stick around for more Operation American Dream. Another one in the books.
Amazing. You gotta love these guys. Steve, hello, off the charts.
Takeaways?
I now know that I can make investments with my VA loan and be smart about it, buying houses instead of renting.
I have a bucket list item, and that's to go on a flight.
You would be an amazing
I think that'd be
guardian.
crazy. I'd be a wreck. I think I'd have a hard time with that. My grandpa was in World War II. It'd be a rough, pretty cool trip. You know what I've heard? I've heard that the coolest part of those trips are not really like at the thing. It's like in the restaurants and the bar after, and like just hearing kind of the stories.
Yeah.
That's gotta be cool.
Life-changing.
All right. Well, hey, we told you so. We told you so, right?
We did.
We told you so. Stick around and keep connected to Operation American Dream, OperationAmericanDream.tv. Look for us on Facebook. You'll find us. They'll find us.
It's easy.
We'll see you next time.